An error occurred? No. Let's try it again.
Oh, it tells
It
me we're
says
live.
Yeah, yeah, it says we're
Good
live.
evening, and welcome to this week's Black Mental Health is Black Health. Woo. I have quite a few guests tonight, and we have a disturbing topic that we want to really bring to you. Just recently, Houston Independent School District has been taken over by the state. And for those of you that are saying, well, that's HISD, that's not my town, I want you to know it will impact all of us. So we will have a chance to talk about that tonight. But if you've been here before, you know we start off with some deep breathing. Why? It allows us to decompress from the day. And it's something you can practice when you get a little stressed. We might talk about this topic and have to breathe in the middle of the show because it's a lot to talk about. So if you've never been with us before, here's what I want you to do. Put your hands on your stomach lightly, and when I say breathe in, you're going to breathe in so deeply that you're going to feel your stomach expand because you're really taking in air. And we're going to breathe into the count of four. We're going to hold it for a count of four. And then we're going to exhale to the count of four. We'll do this 3 times. So let's practice. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. One more. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. How did that feel, guys?
Felt
great.
great.
Yeah.
Awesome. And as a therapist, I encourage you, in those moments, sometimes just stop and breathe and take a moment. It clears the mind for a moment, allows you to think deeper, think better, and more clearly. It gets more oxygen to your brain and oxygen flowing out your body. So it's a good thing to just breathe. We have some exciting guests tonight, and I am going to introduce them based on who's on my screen. So my order, maybe it's like Zoom, my order may be different from yours, but we're going by what's on my screen. And I'll just call on everyone as I see them in order. And I want you to tell the audience who you are. Why in the world does this topic mean anything to you at all? And tell us something cool about you. So, Anna, we'll start with you.
Hi, my name is Anna Shooter, and this topic is important to me because it impacts my son and it actually impacts my job because I work for ISD. And something cool about me is that I'm a colorist, so I like to color in drawings and have a lot
Oh,
of fun.
Hmm, cool, a
I
creative person.
just like to color and make them really pop out.
That's awesome. Pamela Boland, Dr. Pamela Boland.
hi. Let's see. Why am I involved in this? I've been fighting at the school board meetings for the last 10 years, let's say. And I have, I guess, gone through the fire with them and gone through the ups and the downs. And this takeover comes at a time when we are starting to get on the right path finally. There's still things that need to be done, no doubt, but there are things that are in place that are causing change to occur, which is all I've ever asked of the board and the superintendent. And about me, I don't know. There's nothing cool about me. I
Really?
like to shop.
Okay.
I'm officially an Amazon addict, Starbucks addict. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not cool. That I need therapy, Robin.
I want to tell you about a new site I found. That stuff is like so cheap. And it's good
It's
quality.
Amazon.
It's good quality. I need to get off myself of that site. Yeah. Oliver, tell us who you are. Why is this important and something cool about yourself?
How's it going, y'all? My name's Oliver. So the reason this is important to me, I'm a new parent. I have a 1-year-old daughter now, and so having a kid, being a new parent, it's been making me think a lot about education and the world. I want my child to grow up in, and so I think the state takeover is obviously going to negatively impact a lot of people, and so I want to do everything in my power to help change that and make things better for my kids and other people, right? As well. And then on the other hand, I also think just like this is an important topic for me because I think democracy, local democracy, is really important in our society, and so yeah, just I think we should fight for it every chance we have and not let anybody take it away from us. And then in terms of cool things, I love barbecuing, so I like making some briskets. I'm gonna put some ribs on this weekend. So yeah.
Okay.
Getting ready for spring. I'm going to come back to you in a minute, Oliver, for you to tell us about CPE
For sure.
and that organization. Nico.
Yeah. Hello, Oliver. Please invite me. My name is Nico Apazajian. I'm a 9th grade world geography teacher at Sharpstown High School, which is in Houston Independent School District. So I'm a public school teacher. Why do I care so much about this? Well, my job and passion might be at stake. But honestly, I came from engineering. I've been an engineer for years. I switched to teaching because I care so deeply about helping my community. At first, I started working at charter schools and developed a deep apprehension for them. And now work in public schools and love working for public schools. So the threat of going back is very scary for me. Something cool. I've been doing spoken word poetry. I've been doing it at open mics every Wednesday. I write a lot about teaching and also about things in my life.
Awesome. We're going to jump in. Oliver, can you tell us about this organization, CPE? I think I want parents and viewers to know because it is you look like you want to say something, Nico.
Just before, yes, the link to the CVPE sign the petition against the takeover is in my Instagram, Nico Abaz, which is why I put it here, just in case any viewers want access to the link.
And
go ahead, Oliver.
Wow, you know what? If you text it to me, I will put it on my Facebook page with this. I'll put it in this.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I can make that happen. I can multitask.
Okay.
Oliver, what is CPE?
So CVP is Community Voices for. Oh, say again.
I'm sorry, I get CVP, right?
Oh yeah, CVP.
Okay,
yeah. CVPE is Community Voices for Public Education. We're just a group of parents, teachers, and community members that really try to stand up for public education. Whether that mean pushing for better public funding, and of course the big one we're known for is also fighting against standardized testing in Texas. So we teach parents how to opt their kids out of the STAR test. That's a big one. But as you see with the campaign, we're also just involved in the grassroots level every day, fighting for anything that threatens public education. So, of course, in this context, it's the state takeover. But besides that, we're a pretty fun group. We have parties, we chill, we kick it. We build relationships in the community and support each other. And as I know, there's other members on here that can also add anything if they thought I left it out.
You did great.
You did very good.
So let's jump into this topic. So, Pam, what does takeover mean? We hear that HISD has been taken over by the state. What does that mean?
It means that the board members and the superintendent no longer have a active job. Based on what was said today, they're going to have a advisory role. Currently, our board members are unpaid. They're elected and unpaid. Mm-hmm. So we are going to replace the elected and unpaid board with a board of managers who will make $85 an hour. We don't even know how many of them there are going to be. All of that's determined by Marath and his leader, Abbott. And it means that they now have control of HISD's budget, all the funding that HISD receives. And because of Houston and where we are, we're considered a rich district, and so we have to give back $400 million a year to the state to fund other school districts. So now they have control of all of that, and we have no say. There's no one to complain to. The board of managers will report to Marath and not to the citizens. And there won't be board meetings where we can go and speak to our concerns. They'll just go off into a room and decide what needs to be done. And we have absolutely no way to change or voice our opinions about that.
Does that $85 an hour for this salary come out of the HSD budget?
Oh, yes.
Which
Of
is more
course
than
we have to pay.
But it's not coming from the state who is taking over. It's coming out of the budget.
No.
Hey, I just want to, and someone in the chat says, and that's more than teachers. That's more than the teacher's salary.
Yes.
And
yes,
I
it
will
is.
say that, these people don't have to be educators or have an education background.
They just have to live within the boundaries of HISD. That is the only qualification.
So, Oliver, what prompted the takeover? Where did this all come from?
Yeah. So, no, that's a great question. So to kind of give some context on the takeover, so in 2015, House Bill 1842 was passed. Essentially, what that did was it said that any school that had a low star score 5 years in a row either has to be closed or chartered, or the whole school district can be taken over. So in 2018, due to public pressure, HISD had a couple of schools that were failing, and because of public outcry, basically the school board decided, we're not going to close or charter any of the schools. And so that's what partly kind of set this up. So in 2019, to go on, there was only one school that was failing, and that was Wheatley High School. And it should be noted, I think at the time it wasn't failing. TA went back, changed the rules, and then it became failing. So it wasn't even failing in that context. Now, after that, TA kind of tried to start a takeover. And so in 2020, HISD sent in an injunction to halt the takeover. Now, fast forward up until today, right? I think it was a month ago, like the Supreme Court canceled that. And so essentially paved the way for HISD to get taken over by TEA. And so that's basically, where we are at today.
And it's the Texas Supreme Court, because everybody gets a little.
Yeah, Texas. Yeah, okay, of course. Why did I think?
Yeah, well, no, not that the federal, not that the. Never mind. Don't even.
Okay.
No. I was still thinking about when you said they get paid $85 an hour. I'm still kind of, recycling that in my head.
Bothered a lot of us. Anna, any other comments on why the takeover, just itself, what prompted it? You had some interesting thoughts about what was going on in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look back in 2019, we were just recovering from Harvey, which hit us in 2017, right at the end of the year, and children were homeless. Schools were shuttered down, half of them, trying to rebuild if they were flooded out. Half the schools didn't even get to start back, or they had to go and double up on schools all over the region and in our area. And then also in 2019, we were in the middle of the pandemic. So you're taking, that was 2019, 2020 school year. I mean, I was in the middle of the rodeo when that happened, where it just shut down, and you were just told to go home and not go back for 2 weeks. You can't go back to school or anything. I mean, so all the kids had to go virtual. So there was just a lot of social and emotional issues going on as well. And I mean, and how can you expect schools to start recovering after so many natural disasters, especially then in 2021 we had the ice storm. That was ridiculous. But still.
But we were recovering.
We were recovering, yeah. you know.
Yeah, I
You're
think
right.
that's the biggest issue, that the district is currently on the right path.
They're on the path.
Yeah.
And to get to move 40 of the failing schools to not failing,
Mhm.
um, is miraculous in 1 year.
Mhm.
Um, to the district itself has got a B plus rating. It's got an 88. We're in the middle of the pack. I will not lie, but the ones on top are the the thing about HISD being the largest school district in the state of Texas. You can't even compare a lot of the schools that have
Mhm.
better ratings than us because they only have 3 schools or they have 5 schools, right? They're very small school districts, or they're charters,
Yep.
Mhm.
right? And there are just as many charters on the failing end as there are on the upper end.
So
So the
let's
myth of charters is, take that out.
let's talk charters. And someone even asked, what is the state proposal to do that the district can't do? And one of the things, this whole idea of charters. So who wants to jump in? Nico, I see you just gotta talk. Go, Nico. Tell us about charters. And you worked at a charter before, correct?
Yes, I worked there for just a few months, and all it took was a few months to really despise it. The state is proposing it comes from the argument that competition increases innovation. And they're thinking if we introduce more competition into our education system, then we can increase innovation. But we know that competition and large populations, especially with so many disadvantaged people, it means options for the wealthy and not options for the less wealthy. So they're they're not even saying that they can do things differently or better. They're just saying let's privatize our education because that's the solution forward is what they're saying. And we know that that isn't the case from their records. We know that isn't the case from their student dropout rates when they graduate charters and go to college. They drop out at really high rates. We know that from their failing score, as Dr. Pamela mentioned. So they're not even saying they can do things better than the public school. They just think they want to do it differently.
And
Or
someone asked, would say, when you said competition between who? Schools, students, teachers,
exactly, they're fostering competition between private schools and public schools. Hopefully that helps somehow, but in reality, it's just draining public schools of our resources for a
Yes,
Mhm.
fight that we don't need to have.
right.
Mhm.
It's and when they first introduced charters, there was like a kabillion of them, and then most of them failed automatically and just they stole the money or hid the money or did, but anyway, they all failed. And so now we're left with basically 3 to 4 different corporate charter schools.
KIP, yes, prep,
KIP, yeah,
Harmony,
Harmony, and
the big
there's
three.
another one. Those are the big three.
IDA.
What is it?
IDA.
IDA.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, so it's like, so we've got the in Houston, Harris County, we have only, when you say charter, it's not like there's a billion of them. They're all either KIP, yes, or Harmony, and
Those are
IDA.
the majority, and those are, as you said, corporate entities. So we have
Yes,
corporate entities taking over. And if you are a corporate entity, your goal is to make money,
Mhm.
Hmm.
you know. Um, and let's look at the money behind that. We go kind of switch to vouchers and bring that in. So there is, and I'll give the number in a minute, but there's an allotted amount of money per student per district across the state. And now when you have charters, there is a lot of amount of money. Da, da, da. So I believe it's like $6,000 per
it's
charter
maybe $6,300, but it's in that range.
within the 6,000, less than $7,000 per
Right.
child. With the voucher system, I believe one of you said that with the voucher system, it's then going to be 8,000 that the school they get to take to dedicated to that charter or to that private school.
Private school, correct.
So,
Mhm.
which is one of the things. Just the first thing my thought was, okay, we'll take that same extra 2,000 and put it back in the schools per child. That was my naive mind saying, okay, the money is here then. It's apparently here because you're just going to say, we're no longer going to do 6,000. We're going to give you a voucher to 8,000. So like I say, my naive mind will just put 2,000 more per child and see what happens. Oh. Now here's the thing I will say that in looking what I've been reading about vouchers. Um, if my child gets a voucher to go to a certain school, I still have to get them there.
Hmm.
I still have to, in the voucher, if it's only $8,000, if it's a private school, that's not going to cover everything. It may put a dent, only a dent. So I still need to stay with my public school because it
Or
might
one
be
of
in my neighborhood, or it may be I can get a bus, there, but I'm not going to get transportation to the other setting. So just that's my understanding about you. So
yeah.
who can give me more understanding?
It seems like the voucher system is actually a recognition by lawmakers that more less wealthy families will have less options, but a lack of willing to just reinvest the money into our schools. That's my take on it. If someone else has more,
Because up to now, people who can afford to go to private schools go,
yeah,
and and if the voucher is not going to guarantee anybody's going to get into those private schools that are the stellar, supposedly, of education. Um, in Houston, we have St. Anne's, we have St. John, we have any number of uh, major private entities that people may look over there and see it, but they're not going to be able to get into it because $8,000 is not the tuition. It's more like probably I would say 15, 20,000 a year. And so what we're doing is we're giving they're giving the rich a tax break to do something they're already doing.
mm,
So if my child is already at a private school, I can apply for that voucher.
Oh yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. You get
Um,
a voucher too. You get a voucher, and you get a voucher, and you get a voucher.
um,
Everybody gets one.
and there are some good small charter schools, but it's hard for them. So I will say that. But the ones that are, and I'm not necessarily knocking them all, but if it's corporate, it just has a different feel to it and a different bottom line.
yeah,
And they don't answer to anyone.
No.
That's the issue. In HISD, we can go before the board and express a concern. And generally, those concerns in this board, with this board, are addressed. They either explain to you why it happened or how you can improve your options, but because I know in the past board members didn't you really want to talk to us and didn't talk to us. And so I just I went to board meetings to get it on the record so that no one could say, well, nobody told us. So my purpose for going to board meetings is to get it on tape so I could say, well, roll that video
Hmm.
because I said this and I said this many times, so you can go check. But we won't have that option. The
So
state will
you
just
lose your
say,
voice as parents. And
right,
so charter
yeah,
schools right there is not necessarily the same kind of elected board as you do have in public schools. But how do special needs kids fit into all of this? Anna, what can you tell us about that?
Well, there's a big difference. Like HISD takes all. They take all children, and they search and find children who are on the spectrum and not. And charters, they don't have to. They're not required to. They don't. They only take children with slight SPED issues or 504 spectrum issues. And even at that, if they feel they can't handle them, they put them back to public school. So, and being as a sped mom, I mean, it just makes me, um, it just, with him, with his, IEP that's going on, he would not be able to even go to a charter or a private school. He would stay with HIC, which I love HIC right now. I love his placement and his school, and I'm scared for any of that to rock or change because I'm just worried because we're protected under the federal government right now with the IDEA and the and all the federal money that comes to SPED, and with the state taking over, are they going to just halt it? What are they going to do to it? I mean, we have all this. What's the state going to do to? Are they going to keep bringing in the federal money for it? It just makes you really think about what this means.
Now, one of the things that is federally mandated,
Hmm.
special ed programs are federally mandated, and there is, like you say, a separate pot of money,
Yeah.
for special ed students. When it
Hmm.
comes to charter schools, there are certain mandates that they are under to take special ed students. However,
Yeah.
if you don't have the program for the student, because you
Hmm.
don't have enough of them to really do that, it's not the best placement for you. So on paper, they have to take special ed students.
But
But in practicality, they don't have the same things that your child might be able to get in a public school because the public schools have to take everybody. They don't have the option of you applying because remember you can apply to a charter school or there may be a lottery system. So there are different ways you don't just necessarily enroll in a charter school as you do a public school. So if I don't have the programs for your child, is it in your best interest to bring your child here? Because I can't do that. Some of the things that come up with looking at special ed, because I was a special ed teacher back in the day. That was what I chose to teach. I used to say, regular ed kids, I don't have time for them. I don't like them. Give me my special ed babies. So with that, with that population, there are a lot of things that can happen. Like if you have a young child who is, let's say, severely and profound, have all these issues, they could still be enrolled in school. And being enrolled in school is going to get them like a 3-year-old. It's going to get them speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy because of federal funds.
hmm
And that's just the way the system is worked out. Private schools don't have to do this because they're not taking the federal funds to do that.
Mhm.
hmm
And they can actually get those services in school.
Yeah.
So those students get a chance to be involved with other children, whether they're even aware or we know what their awareness is, but they're allowed that experience. And parents can send their child to school. Uh,
hmm
so I can't see them getting rid of it, but we don't know what you're right. As a parent, I can see where you're concerned, but what is this going to look like?
Yeah. Will his school environment change from what it is now? How would that look like under a takeover? That's just.
Mhm. What about, I'll start this one with you, Nico. What are teachers saying?
Talking to teachers, it is they're so selfless. They always talk about the students first, like what is it the students need? And in my classroom in particular, it'll be the wraparound services that go, the counselors that can no longer be afforded, and I don't think I could do my job without counselors. There's so many breakdowns and crises, especially by students who have to work after school and are um, overwhelmed by the school tests and working afterwards or taking care of their siblings or whatever extra responsibilities that 14-year-olds shouldn't have yet. So I'm most worried about them. I know that in other districts that have been taken over, student attendance was dropped drastically, and student attendance and teacher employment go hand in hand. So students go, teachers go, um, and less people receive good education.
Mm, wow. Oliver, what kind of things have been going on with CPE, and what are they hearing and saying and thinking? CVPE, I'm going to get
Yes,
it
that's
right.
it. Oh
Mm.
yes, let's get it
Um,
right.
what kind of things are they seeing and trying to make happen with regards to this takeover?
So there's a couple of things. Some of them are under wraps, so
Right. Don't, well,
yeah,
don't
we get
reveal
ready
them.
for it. Can't go. I can't. Yeah. Trade secrets on some. But right now, as Nico had brought up, like we do have a petition going on, and we are trying to get it signed by as many people as possible. We're trying to spread awareness as well. So we're talking to a lot of the press. We're doing interviews with parents and stuff like that. So I think right now the biggest thing is spreading awareness and getting people to sign the petition because you know this takeover it's a political move, right? Like it is at the end of the day. However TEA wants to frame it, whether it's trying to do its best and all that, politics is behind it at the end of the day. And so that means that there are elected accountable people who are behind it, who we can't who do feel the effects of public pressure, and people need to understand that. And that's why we're also bringing up the petition, which is just that's a symbol of public pressure. And so all I can say is right now, sign the petition, spread awareness. If you're interested in getting involved, coming out to our events, we just went to the legislative session this past Monday, and I think Nico, you went to that, right?
I
Yeah,
did, yeah.
I know plenty of people went to that, and so we're going out
Hosted
there
by the AFT, the American Federation of
yeah,
Teachers.
exactly. So we're putting pressure on lawmakers, but yeah, we're also doing grassroots organizing, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's if you actually go to our website, we have our events page there. You can look up stuff we're doing. But if you're interested, sign up, get on our mailing list, and we reach out. I mean, you can ask any of the people on this call. I text them. I text them weekly. So yeah, it's
What
we are
is
very
CVPE's
I was
website? What is the
it,
website, Oliver?
Houston CVP. That's it. It should be the first thing that pops up.
Yeah, HoustonCVPE.com.
Houston.com? Okay.
Yeah.
.org.
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 That's probably where I messed
But
up.
we do want to make sure that people are aware. TEA is sponsoring basically a town hall. They've got 3 of them scheduled. One on the 21st of March at
Mhm.
Westbury High School, and that'll be the first one. I think you may have the list of the
Yeah,
others in the
and these
chat.
are all at 6:30, March 21st at Westbury High School. And that's where I was going, March
Okay.
22nd at Chavez High School, March 29th at Hattie Mae White Education, the HISD building, Hattie Mae White Education Support Center, and March 30th at Cashmere High School. And that's in the chat if you're on Facebook. You can see that. And I put CVPE's website on there. So, these are things if you want to be involved, these are ways you can do that. Yeah, like, as I said earlier, this doesn't just impact HISD.
No.
There was a takeover of Beaumont ISD a couple of years ago. Can anyone speak to,
They were just released recently. They were under TEA control for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, there was no academic improvement, just for the record, so that we're not confused. There was some they also had some financial issues that needed to be resolved, which I guess after 6 years were finally resolved. And so their elected board, I guess, will come on in the next election cycle. It's the notion that the state, led by a human being that has no education experience, can adequately perform the duties of increasing academic performance is a bit naive. And sure, they say they can, but they don't. Schools have starved schools in Black and brown communities on purpose. And we finally got a superintendent and a set of board members that outnumber the ones that were trying to starve the schools in our communities. And it to say it's discrimination would be is really naive, because it's more than discrimination. when we had the bond when we had the bond election for the $2.5 billion to repair and rebuild schools. They bought a city block in Houston, downtown, to put HSPVA on, the High School of Performing Arts. They spent $107 million to do this. And then that only services 750 students.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about declining enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, declining enrollment is fine if you're HSPVA, or it's fine if you're Carnegie Vanguard. You don't have to have high enrollment. If you're the energy school, they'll build you an $80 million campus and you only have 800 students. So it is discrimination. They have starved starved the schools in my communities. They've removed programs and put them elsewhere, or duplicated programs and made them better elsewhere. And all of those things draw children out of a school into another school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been the plot. This is kind of the end of the plot. They have created failing schools, given the only option you have is not to infuse more money into the school. Your options are close it, charter it, or we take it over, or
Mm-hmm.
we take over the district. I mean, that's ludicrous. The option should be, if you have a failing school, you should be able to get extra money to put in extra resources in that school. That's what you should be able to do. That's what the option should be. There should be a set of funds for low performing schools, and a way to get those funds into the hands of low performing schools, because they're not low performing because there's something wrong with the kids, there's something wrong with the teachers. They're low performing because they lack the resources. You have to pay to have an AP class, to take an AP class. And so waiving those fees, that helps a little. But if you're just now getting to take AP type courses at a high school level, when you could have had access to pre-AP courses at the middle school level that you did not have. So they didn't have those resources. So those resources aren't translated to the next level. It's nuts to think that a state that works to siphon money away from a district in order to fund other districts is going to somehow come in, wave a magic wand, and give these places that don't have resources, because there's no money to do that with.
Wow, that's a lot, and what both you just said and what Oliver said earlier about it's really all about the politics of it.
It is.
And one of the things I'll say is because we live in a red state, and the mentality of red states and education is sort of scary. And when you think about, well, the district has been taken over, and looking at what politically this will do. If parents don't and community activists don't have the option to go to a school board and make demands and keep making them until they're finally heard because that entity is taken away. When we look at book banning and if the state is over it, can they just determine what books and what materials are allowed? How will parents' voices be heard? Will there be a mechanism for this? And I see heads shaking no, no, no. And that's why it's going to be really important to go to these meetings that TEA has. And one thing people sometimes want to do is just, well, we just can't do nothing. You just roll over.
No, those meetings are very important. I went to when they were in the process of takeover in 2019. I went to them, and it was always interesting to see the conservator at the time. I'm gonna remember his name in a minute, Crab something. But anyway, he would have to explain these things, and he could not take hard questions. It was, Well, what are you going to do about special ed? Well, we have really interested in what happens with special ed children, and that's not an answer to the question. He did the meetings never resulted in getting one piece of this is what we're going to do. This is step one. This is step two. This is step three. It was all this grandiose notion of stuff that's going to happen in the future, which has, we have no accountability on the future. Because if you don't do that, then what? So if you fail to bring these schools up from a D or F, right? Because what they're going to do is close all the D and F schools. I mean, that's just
Hmm.
that's
Mhm.
that's
Do any of you have a number on that? How many DNF schools there are right now?
right now they're 9.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right now they're 9, and so in order for HISD to get out of takeover, they can't have any DNF schools with multiple years, and I don't even know what that means. That's not even clear. It's like you can't have DNF schools that have multiple years, right? And so, because that's it, that's all they've got. They don't have the financial issue. They don't have the board has doesn't get along, or they don't have any of the things that they had in 2019. Not one single one. Not one single one.
Hmm.
Wow.
Everything they're talking about now, all those people are gone. They were voted out. That elective process, that democratic thing, that people tend to, disregard. They were voted
Definitely
out.
a red state.
They were voted out.
As we look at winding down, I have a final question for everyone. And we'll go in reverse order on the screen this time. And my question is, how does this personally impact you? And make one comment, at least to our audience, about how you feel about this and what you want people to do. So I want to make it personal now. It's personally, what do you want people to know and what do you want people to do? So we'll start in the reverse order. So Nico, you get to go first.
I thank you. I want people to know that this is the fight against segregation. This is the fight for democracy. This is the fight for equality, and it's happening on a public education front.
Mm.
Personally, I don't know. I've committed to the fight of education. I just don't know what route that's going to take. It's either going to let me work at a public school where I can help kids, or I'm going to have to work just to get to the place where I can help kids in the first place again.
Mm. Oliver.
Um, so I guess how this, affects me. I have a 1-year-old, so she's not in school yet. But I would just say to people, like, like to me, like a really important idea that I feel like growing up in America, even though it's an idea that I don't think has ever been realized, is the idea that like people have the right to choose their own destiny, right? And I think, to me, this is kind of like an example of how we can choose our destiny collectively, and that's being taken away from us, right? We're not getting a choice in our, child's education. We're not getting a choice where our money goes. I think you might have said this yesterday, right? No taxation without representation, and so like, I mean, it may sound cheesy, but it's real. Like, people fought and died, for us to be able to have to have a say in our own destiny. And so like to see that being taken away, I mean, I think we have to, fight it out till the bitter end. So, I would just encourage people to think about, what do you want for your child? What do you want for your family? If you want to say in that, then you need to come out and you need to fight against the state takeover. So that's all I would say.
And let me make it really plain, that comment about taxation without representation. You will still pay school taxes if you're in Houston. You won't have a board to represent you. You will have a board that tells you what they need, if it's a state governance board. So that is that notion of, wow, where is my representation for my taxes? And then your taxes are half of it, because it's a so-called rich district with recapture, has to go to other districts. So you are, yes, taxation without representation. Dr. Pamela Bobolin, your final comment.
I guess for me, it's just been it's because it's been such a long struggle. It's heartbreaking because we were finally getting on the right path. There were people actually listening. I mean, true. I haven't gotten everything that I wanted. I'm still fighting to get therapeutic counselors in every campus, and that's something that I will continue to fight for. But the it's just heartbreaking to see a state who does not value diversity, does not value equity, does not value inclusion, and the opposite of all those words, sameness, biased, and exclusion. How can that be what you would want to promote? We all of a sudden we want to be anti woke. Well, if you're not woke, then you're sleep. And so we need to be real clear that while you may think this isn't happening to you today, it will be happening to you tomorrow. There is a guarantee. It may not be with the school board, it may be, they might dissolve your city like they want to do with Austin. So, you can stand there and not say a word. That's fine. I'll be yelling for the both of us. But you can't think that it is not going to happen to you, because it is.
True.
You can look at
Anna,
how they bundled the Uvalde shooting. I mean, you just can't think that this state is ever going to get out of its racist beginnings.
race is
I'm
beginning with
sorry.
you.
I'm sorry.
Anna,
I got that in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
I,
was not going to say that, but
Uh,
Anna,
yes. So I was saying, I was looking down here at the questions about. So I mean, we vote. My last thing is that our vote won't be represented.
no.
We voted these people in, and so we get to say. And your taxes, like she said, taxation or representation. You always can go to the school boards, like she said, and tell them what you don't like and petition. Now you're just shut out. Now you can't say anything, you can't do anything. You just have to sit there and just the state will do it for you. The state's going to, and then you have no say of what's happening now. And it's you're just left in left field, and while everybody else is just doing it here. So if they're doing it wrong, you can't complain. If they're tanking it down and spending the money on the charters and the privates and less funding to the public education, then that's what's going to be. But I mean, they because you just have no say now. You've lost your democratic right to vote. So all the voting that we just did to get the new school boards, it's just right out the window now, and it just takes away our rights as voters to have
Mhm.
this. So it's just a lot to think about.
Well, I want to thank all of you for taking the time out to educate our fellow Texans and those around the country who may be watching about the takeover of HISD. And as it has been said, it is not just about Houston. If this happens in Houston, it has happened in other cities across the country, not just those in Texas. We need to worry about our children and educating them. They're not just our future, I always say, but they're our now. But
Hmm.
yes, as you get older, that's who's going to be taking care of you. We want them educated well. We want their quality of life to want them to have a good quality of life. So it is very important. I always end my show with a call to action. And my call to action for tonight is think about whether you have a child or not. Education is important. It's not just children or not. It's not just their future. It's our future. If they're educated properly or not. So be aware of what's going on in Houston, whether you live in Houston or not, in terms of what does this mean for you? If you're not in Houston, what's going on in your school district? Be aware. Most school districts, I can speak in Texas, are still don't aren't 100% in terms of their hiring teachers. They're still short. Teachers are still leaving because after the pandemic, things just got unmanageable. That's the word I'll use for so many teachers. So be aware of what's going on, whether you have children or not. Be aware of what's going on in the school system. If there's a school in walking distance from your house, know what's going on there. Figure out what's going on in one school if you can't figure out what's going on in the district.
Volunteer.
Yes, the volunteerism is back being allowed again. Be aware, volunteer, get in there, see what's going on. I always end this show by saying, be an educated voter. Voting impacts our lives. For those of you who don't want to vote, it's so important. If we get enough, we can vote out the people who are in office who make decisions that are not in our interest. So be an educated voter. It makes a difference. So I want to thank you again, Anna, Pam, Oliver, Nico, for coming out tonight. And the rest of you, I hope I see you next week. Our topic next week has to do with All Children's Home, ACH, and it deals with kids in the foster care system. Another system that is impacting our children and not necessarily positively. So see you guys next week.
Bye.